Hello everybody, my name is Lucas, aka the Frozen Controller, and today, as you can probably guess by these tokens, I'm going to be talking about Merfolk, the standard deck. I've seen a lot of people try to build standard Merfolk decks. Haven't seen very many that do well, just because there's certain oversights they make, there's certain cards they don't include, stuff like that. So, I'm going to be going over what I did, and well, it worked better than decks I've seen online, so I figured why not give it a try on here. Now, I don't quite have the full list yet, but I could just go over kind of what would need to be added to make this the ideal Merfolk list. So let's start with lands. Just your standard tribal lands, your dual lands, your normal lands. Yeah, this is about a 20 land deck. At one point, switch out of forest for an unclaimed territory. And the first thing you might notice is Woodland Stream instead of Botanical Sanctum. Now, if you have Botanical Sanctums, by all means throw them in. But if you don't, I would not recommend going out and getting them, as they're just going to become obsolete in Standard pretty soon, and they don't see any play in Modern, apart from like a couple budget decks back when it was like $2 a piece. So it's definitely going to drop back to $2 a piece. Just because, well, I mean, Inspiring Vantage sees Tier 1 Modern play, and that's $5 at the high end. So yeah, I would wait on spending and spend like $2 to $3 on a Botanical Sanctum instead of $10 to $15. Because that's just the smart thing to do. And the deck does not suffer because of it. Moving into 1-drops, 3 Jade Bearer, 4 Mistcloak Herald. I would suggest 3 to 4 Commander Speaker just because it's such a solid card. However, they're kind of hard to come by at the moment. Not many people want to trade theirs because everyone wants to make Merfolk. So, yeah, I only have 2 right now. But, yeah, just Mistcloak Herald, 1/1, unblockable. Pretty damn good. Commander Speaker. Wait, you can have it as a 3/3 on turn 2. Definitely worth playing. Jade Bear can also set you up to have some 3/3s on turn 2. So, yeah. Up next, we've got the 2-drop slot, which this one's a little more fleshed out in terms of completion. But there are some things in here that are like automatic takeout if you get other things that are missing from this list. Silver Adept, 4 of, obviously. If it's good enough to see Modern play as a 4 of, it's good enough to see Standard play as a 4 of. Merfolk Mistbinder should be a 4 of. Again, hard to come by because no one really wants to trade theirs because so many people want to build Merfolk. Merfolk Branchwalker, I have it as a 4 of. Could probably be a 3 of. It's basically just a different variation of Silvergo Adept. And then River Sneak, it's okay. It's not amazing. Guildgrove Stalker, again, it's okay. It's not amazing. These two definitely take out for 2 more Merfolk Lords as soon as humanly possible. You want the full 4 of those. And I'd say River Sneak would probably be pretty safe to take out for something that we only have 2 of in our 3-drop slot. Going to 3-drop creatures, 4 of Jungleborn Pioneer, pretty obvious. It's probably the best 3-drop Merfolk that isn't a Lord. So, actually it's definitely the best 3-drop Merfolk that isn't a Lord. So, yeah, 4 of. Like, without question. Getting to the top of our curve here, we've got 2 Forerunner of the Heralds, just because you can search up any Merfolk you want out of your deck. So that can be a Lord, that can be a Silver Girl, that can be one of the other 4-drops. Who knows? Herald the Secret Streams. As you'll see coming up, there's a lot of counter synergies in this deck. So having something that makes those counters provide unblockable is just amazing. And Tempest Caller, kind of a finisher. If you have enough power on board and you just use that to tutor for this, and then just drop it on the next turn. Doesn't matter how many blockers they left up, or if your stuff's unblockable, you just win the game. So that's creatures. Now let's get into 3-drop spells. 2 Crashing Tide, 2 Deep Root Waters. Probably want 3 Deep Root Waters if I'm being honest. But 2 or 3 Crashing Tide is pretty good. Just because it's a bounce spell that if you're in a bind, you can bounce like a Silver Gill back to your hand, get more value out of it. And if they have a problem creature like a Torrential Gearhulk or like some sort of dinosaur that doesn't have hexproof, then you just blast it back to their hand. Now, 1 Charter Course. I'm not huge on Charter Course, but it's come through decently in a couple games. 4 of River Herald's Boon. This card is insane. Just 2 mana at instant speed. You can either give a permanent +2/+2 to 1 creature, or you can put a 1/1 counter on 2 different creatures, and it just fills the board with power. And it works very well. The Herald of Secret Streams, because you can make 2 of your creatures unblockable. So that's what we got for the main board. And I think it's in a pretty good place, other than missing a couple cards, but there's definite stuff to take out for those. So, yeah, not worried. And it performs beautifully, so. Now, let's get into the sideboard quick before I go over the more technical aspects. 2 of Plummet. Flyers are a problem. And, yeah. Green-blue doesn't really have any flyers of their own that are super playable, especially in a Merfolk deck. Like, there's 1 Merfolk that has flying, and you have to have another Merfolk for that, so. And it's only a 2/1, so it's probably not going to trade with much. 2 of Naturalize. Godfarrow's Gift is a thing. Gearhulks are a thing. So 2 Naturalize, pretty solid. River Darter. This is more because there's multiple people at my LGS who play dinosaur decks. So having River Darters are like, okay, I can just swing through your dinosaurs, no problem. If you don't have a lot of dinosaur decks in your meta, or a lot of decks that even just run dinosaurs as a side thing, I would recommend playing something other than River Darter. Waterknot, just 3 mana, locks down a creature. It's pretty good. Crook of Condemnation, again, takes down Godfarrow's Gift, and deals with Scarab God alright, because if you manage to kill the Scarab God, then you can just exile the Scarab God itself, and if they try to activate the ability, you can just exile whatever card they did. Some counter magic, we got a Negate, we got a Spell Pierce, we got a Jace's Defeat, we got another Negate. Spell Pierce is the one I'm not too confident on, but that, yeah, it could come in handy, so I'd just leave it in. Negate, just solid counterspell. Jace's Defeat, counters a blue spell, can take care of a Torrential Gearhulk, can take care of a counterspell of some sort, just any blue spell. And a lot of the really, really good spells right now are actually blue, so. 2 Life Goes On. aggro matchups are a thing, and being able to gain 8 life for 1 green is invaluable in an aggro matchup. And 1 Swift Warden. If you take out the River Darters, I would just add 2 more Swift Wardens in. They're pretty damn good, because they can nullify removal spell at instant speed, and they're a 3/3 for 3. So that's what we've got for the sideboard. Something you might have thought was missing from this deck, and a lot of people try to play a Kumena Tyrant of Araska in their Merfolk decks. I can see why they would want to. It looks like a very powerful, very solid, well-rounded card. In reality, the only place it's playable is Commander as a Voltron Commander. It is not playable in a 60-card constructed format, just because it relies entirely on your board state sticking around. And yes, there's Heroic Intervention in the format right now, but no decks play that, and none of the Merfolk decks that run Kumena also run Heroic Intervention, so it's kind of a moot point to even bring that up if no one's playing it. Also, Kumena is what I like to refer to as a trap card, which is a card that looks really, really powerful the first time you look at it, and then it becomes super expensive and everyone wants to play it. In reality, it's just a horrible card. Let me elaborate. So you tap 1 Merfolk, it's unblockable. Woo, 1 of your Merfolk is unblockable, and it's not target Merfolk you control becomes unblockable, because that might actually be playable. But no, just tap 1, it becomes unblockable. Meh. It's a 2/4. Like, that's not gonna do a ton. But that ability is the reason it's playable as a Voltron Commander. It's just because you tap 1 of your creatures, make your commander unblockable, you have a bunch of stuff on them, and then you just swing in at someone for lethal unblockable damage. Next ability is tap 3, untap Merfolk you control, to draw a card. Are you serious? I've heard of games where people have just been repeatedly tapping their Merfolk to draw cards instead of attacking, because they think that's the smart thing to do, is to just generate card advantage. In reality, card advantage is only card advantage if it's actively winning you the game. Like with a control deck, keeping 7 cards in hand with massive amounts of card draw. Like Sphinx's Revelation, amazing card advantage card. It just fills your hand up. You're sitting there with 7 cards in hand, ton of open mana. Your opponent is not going to be very keen to casting spells because they doubt it's going to resolve. But if your card draw engine is preventing you from attacking, if you could have just played like an aggro deck, like Merfolk actually is, then, like, yeah, really, why? Why do you do that? Final ability, tap 5 on tap Merfolk you control, put a 1/1 counter on each Merfolk you control. It's decent, the Lords are better, and that's just taking the game way too slow. Like, this variant of Merfolk, it doesn't run Kumena, and it can win on like between turns 5 and 7 pretty consistently, if you play it aggressively and get a good hand. When it comes to decks playing Kumena, like, they don't play aggressively enough to win the game that fast. So they automatically lose to things like Godpharaoh's Gift. They're too slow to compete with Approach, because they like try to play the control game and draw cards and stuff, and then they just get their board wiped and they're back to square one because they tapped all their stuff and drew cards. Let's just see. I mean, it's not a great hand. Let's just see how this goes. So, draw, tap land, and draw, and declare Merfolk, play Branch Walker. Definitely a counter. Silvergill's too slow. Draw, land, and then here going to want to play Mistbinder and attack for 4. Going to turn. Actually, no, hell no, I misplayed that. What you would instead want to do is play your second Branch Walker and swing for 3. I guess that goes to hand. Then you want to play a land, play a Mistbinder, play a River Herald's Boon, and then you're swinging in for 9 on your fourth turn. Then on turn 5, now you have 9 unblockable, and you win the game. Anyway, that's going to be all from Merfolk. I'm hoping you both enjoyed the video and learned a little something about building standard Merfolk. I'm trying to think of something clever for an outro. Until then, I'm just going to say I don't have an outro yet. So bye.